Hello, welcome back. You've tuned in for the first app, and we're back with a full one this time. Bit more in depth,
Yeah.
bit more to talk about. Lots of collaborating on ideas today. We thought we would take you through a bit of a deep dive into the world of grief. Shock.
No way.
No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to talk a little bit about our life before, and then also the emotions that come with grief. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of dive in. Rose, got anything to add before we start?
No, just ready for the dive. To be fair.
The deep dive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll talk a little bit about what life was before, because this has been a very life-changing experience for both of us, and same with anyone who's gone through kind of a loss, whether that be a bereavement or, you know, the loss of a relationship or any of those things that we spoke about already. So yeah, do you want to kind of go first on
Yeah, let's
what
do
life
it.
was like before for you?
It's difficult because, like, you almost don't remember because you kind of, like, factory reset, like, when you go through something big like this. So I guess when I just think about life before, just scratching the surface, it was a home, like, a really happy home life of me, my mum, my sister Daisy, shout out Daisy, she's definitely not listening. Yeah, and dad, and we just lived at home, the four of us, 2 cats, sometimes 3. Rest in peace, Tinkerbell.
Great
Pet
name.
grief, that's a real thing, trust me. But yeah, no, really happy, like, and you know, it didn't exactly turn unhappy. I think it just magnifies, you know, the loss as you can relate to, like, you know, you go back to a home life that you once thought was it was really happy, and then there's just that massive gap of where someone should be. So yeah, that's all I can say really. Yeah, just me and Daisy at home, and then mum and dad. Yeah, really close. Used to do things together, like, all the time. Like, every weekend we'd have dinner together at the table and, like, ask questions. Like, my mum's definitely listening, and we used to play this game called What's Your Favourite, and go around and say, like, what's your favourite Arsenal player, and my mum would be like, oh, that's not fair. Like, I've literally just got these memories, and, like, that is what just stands out, like, just being a unit. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I'd say that, like, it was nothing, like, I mean, to me it was special, but, like, from the outside, yeah, just a really nice, like, family unit, and that kind of paints my picture, I suppose.
Yeah, I think same for me. So, well, actually different for me, I guess. That's a complete lie, wasn't the same for me.
Lies.
So I grew up, so my mum and dad were married until I was 2. I think they broke up. And my dad was kind of on and off seeing me when I was younger. So my mum brought me up. I lived a lot of the time with my grandparents. I'm really close with them. And then my mum bought her own bungalow. So it was just me and her when I was really young. And then she knew Vince through school. They actually dated in secondary school. So they always knew each other as friends. Sorry, cough's back.
Never left.
No, it didn't. And yeah, my dad went to Vince and his ex-wife's wedding. So I guess they'd always kind of knew each other. But yeah, then my mum and Vince started dating when I was 7. And basically there was a lot of kind of stuff that went on, but Vince soon moved in with us, with his 2 girls, Annabelle and Grace, when they were 2 and 3, I want to say. So I quickly went from me and my mum to a huge adjustment to we had a triple bunk bed in my room. And yeah, just sometimes a bit dysfunctional, but I'd say happy family household. And yeah, it was kind of a quick adjustment going from not having siblings to quickly having siblings. But yeah, Vince was it became my father figure. And we used to have a great time. It was really lovely. I would say I was a bit of a sap as a kid. I was a massive wet wipe. My mum was quite strict. Not like hugely strict, but I didn't have much of a backbone being a single child. And then, is that what you call it, single child?
I was just thinking that. It sounds so right, though. Like,
not that I was like
child.
single as in didn't have a
Yeah.
fella, but you know what I mean? It's just me on my own. So yeah, it was just kind of me and her, and yeah, she did make me into a bit of a wet wipe. So I didn't really have much of a backbone, but I remember Vince coming in and quickly changing that. He used to wind me up so chronic, but like, you know, he actually taught me a bit about banter and have a bit about yourself. So thank God he was in my life, because I would be a bit of a loser nowadays.
See, I am still the loser because my mum and dad both wrapped me up in cotton wool and like.
No, you're not.
Oh, I'm a self-made non-loser then. Thanks, guys. Like, that's all me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
evolution.
But yeah, I think with him, obviously, then you know, we were kind of a lovely family unit, and then he brought me up from the age of 7. My little brother Oscar was born when I was 12, so he was delighted to have a boy in the family, especially being in an all-female household. So yeah, that was like life before his loss, and I would say I was a very happy, bubbly, carefree person up until he died, and still am, like we said last time, but it definitely completely shifts your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
I think like we can both relate as well, like having such close relationships with our dads. Like, you know, like you and Vince were like best mates, and like me and my dad were best mates, and it's just like, as you said, like it's not just like losing. Well, it's not just like losing like a dad or like part of the family. It's like, God, like you do lose like someone that means so much to you in the sense of like your mate, and like, you know, people you just, the first people you want to tell things to, and yeah.
I think as well, I guess as you get older, you get closer to them. I'm sure you were the same with Brian.
No, totally, yeah.
Like you start to talk about football, you start to go out for beers and things like that. And that was kind of mine and Vince's relationship through the last few years, especially. I remember we went out in Bath for his 50th birthday with my cousins and you know, my uncle, and yeah, it was super fun. And it was like you got to that stage where you're like, right, we're best mates.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about football. But yeah, I think it obviously now life is very different, and as you said, like you kind of try and fill that gap, but it's unfillable. I guess, do you want to kind of talk about, I know you don't want to go into too much detail today because it can be a bit triggering, but life now and like kind of how that changed things?
Yeah, I mean, it was really weird for me in the sense that like I wouldn't say I properly started grieving until this year. So I lost my dad in 2020, and obviously lockdown happened in March. So yeah, it was really crazy because the feelings I was feeling, I just didn't think it was grief. I knew that I'd lost my dad, but I mean, before that I hadn't lost anyone really, and like I wasn't familiar with like the term of grief, the feeling of grief. Being 22, I wasn't really around people that had been grieving, apart from, you know, adults who I would consider adults at the time. It's like really alienated feelings. And I think because it was lockdown, he passed in January, and I went back to Southampton, which was where I was living with my friends, went into lockdown, and yeah, just I would say, like, when I look back at those times, I never think or refer to it as grief. I think to it as like a breakdown in my mental health, really. Like anyone that's sort of seen me through that journey, like I really changed. I still wouldn't even say it was grief. I was just really unhappy, but I don't really know why. My dad had died. It was really sad, but I wasn't like every day waking up like, I miss him so much. So, you know, my dad died of cancer, so I was grieving him a lot before he actually passed. And then, yeah, went away, isolated myself from my feelings, thought I was crazy because I was just like, God, I can't shift this feeling. What is wrong with me? Went to the doctors, got put on antidepressants. You know, anyone that knows that's just what they do, get you out of there quickly. And yeah, just lived a life thinking, wow, I'm just crazy now. And yeah, I mean, you know, not to trigger people, but I mean, like, drugs and alcohol come into it. You look for unhealthy coping mechanisms. And again, I did not think that was because of the death of my dad. I thought I was just going through a really bad slump. And it kind of took me about 2 years to come out of that slump, and still didn't acknowledge that it might be grief until this year, ironically, when you lost Vince, and I think it kind of woke me up to not how to properly grieve, because there isn't a right or wrong way to grieve, but I watched you grieve, which was completely and utterly soul destroying as a friend, because there's nothing you can do, but it was so insightful in the way that you think, you know, from my own story, like, wow, like there are such different ways to grieve, and it made me realize I really need to do this. Like, I don't want to relate to Maisie in this way at all, but you know, watching the feelings that you had to overcome, it kind of brought it home to me, like, wow, I really need to do some work on myself and realize what I've lost, you know, in my dad. It might have been 5 years later. I finally did it, but I think, you know, I've said to you so many times, like, I wish someone had told me at the time, like, you don't have to deal with this now. You know, I wish I did. I wish I did. But like, it wasn't that I didn't have a good support system. I think that when you're 22 and you lose a parent, people were like, I don't want you to be sad. Let's do something happy. And that catches up with you. It doesn't, you know, you can't run away from a feeling like that.
Yeah. I also think though, Rose, like you had very odd circumstances. I mean, lockdown is probably a trigger for a lot of people.
I know.
We were quite lucky in the sense that it was me, Charlie and Harry living here, having a great time. But so many people went through a really hard mental health experience and felt really isolated. And for you, you were in a completely new, you know, it was a new world. None of us had been through anything like this.
I know,
So to be going through something that's so tricky to navigate without all the other things going on, that must have been really hard as well.
It was, and it is all about reflection with my grief. I think I look back and I'm like, did I enjoy lockdown? And then I'm like, wait, my dad died during lockdown. Do you know what I mean? It just seems like a completely different world. And I was on a different planet most of the time. I mean, I really wasn't looking after myself. But yeah, I think I can't say there's ways to grieve properly. That would be a wrong thing to say. I think there's ways to heal properly. I think you need to give yourself, every single person, you have to give yourself credit for what you've gone through grieving wise, whether it's a bereavement, a breakdown of relationship, mourning the life you used to have. Like, do it in your own way, but give yourself, you know, I've said to you so many times, be selfish. And I'd say you've done like a pretty good job of doing that. But I also acknowledge that you also have been the backbone of keeping things together. And yeah, just want to acknowledge that so that you can give yourself a shout out here.
Oh, thank you, mate. I mean, I don't think anyone does it right because it's a weird fucking time for anyone. But I also could not have done it without you. Like, I think I have been so lucky to be surrounded by such good friends. You know, yourself with the loss of your dad, Hugh, the loss of his mum. Sadly, but also fortunately, I've got friends who have been through grief and they, you know, you guys have been so helpful for me to kind of understand it. For me, obviously, we had very different experiences. You know, you had to see your dad suffer, which must have been absolutely horrendous. But we kind of earlier, didn't we, when we were planning this episode, kind of jotted down the emotions that came with our grief, and it was weird how many things were different.
It was literally like opposing. It was like we were like, think of this word, what's the opposite? It was really strange.
Yeah, because I think one of like the main things for me is because it was a sudden death, and I guess I'll talk a little bit about those first few days for myself. So sorry guys, I found out from my uncle. It's really weird. Like, you look back on things like this and they're bizarre, but I always put my phone on silent before bed, always. And that was the only time I didn't. And I woke up to my phone vibrating. You know how it is. You're delirious. It was 10:30. Sorry, embarrassing that I go to bed that early, but whatever. And I remember him saying that Vince had a heart attack and he died. And I just screamed. I literally, I couldn't comprehend what he was saying to me. Like, it was because I was meant to be seeing Vince that day. I was meant to be, I went to my mum's house because I've just got a new car and I went to see Vince. It annoys me when you look back on it, but I knew he had a football tournament. He told me it was 10 till 2. So I went over at 3 to see him, but he actually got the times wrong. It was 2 till 10. And it was in Bournemouth, I think. So I went over, Mum said, he's gone to his football tournament. I was like, what? I thought it was 10 till 2. She was like, oh, no, it's 2 till 10. I was like, oh, no worries, I'll see him whenever. So that was the last kind of time I would have seen him. So it was just the most bizarre, heart-wrenching feeling when my uncle called me and said that he wasn't there anymore, because I was like, what?
Yeah,
he was
that's not...
absolutely fine. There was nothing wrong with him.
Mm.
So that was just, I can't, it's like, I can't even put into words how crazy and horrendous it was. I literally just cried all night. I didn't know what to do with myself. I just kept on saying to Harry, like, I can't go on. I cannot go on. I don't know what the fuck do I do? It was a sleepless night, and I will never forget the day going to my mum's the next day, and there was no lights on in the house. Just sitting around in silence, family coming over, hugging, sitting down. Like, it was just, it felt like the day lasted forever. Like, it was just a weird place. And then the week that followed that, I was in complete denial. I just could not get my head around the fact he wasn't here anymore, because it was so sudden and so unexpected. And I think the first week I was in complete shock. I remember I painted the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like the third day in, because I just don't think I could really comprehend that he wasn't here. And then week 2, I think I went back to work, didn't I?
Yeah, that was really soon.
Yeah, I went back to work after a week because I felt okay, because I hadn't processed it at all. Went back to work, bad decision, because I was all over the shop. And then we had to wait 7 weeks for his funeral, which was agonizing. It was just the longest.
Whoa, you're planning a wedding, by the way. Like,
yeah, I was planning a wedding. My home hen do was the week before his funeral, so it was just I was so drained. It was an emotional roller coaster of excitement, carnage, the highest and darkest times I've ever had. Because I was on the high for the wedding and, the hen do and everything, and then it was like my hen do had a good weekend. Obviously, it was a lot of tears. And then the next week was the funeral, and it was just like one weekend I was dressed as a cowgirl, the next I was wearing black.
yeah,
It was just bizarre. But yeah, I think the emotions, I guess, that I wasn't expecting, obviously, the heartbreak, and I've spoken about shock. I think that's one thing that you don't realise you're in at the time, because you do have, I'd say that it was a month of shock for me. Like, there was times where I didn't feel it at all. There was so much denial, but also it brings up so much trauma of like triggers that you don't necessarily realize. So like nowadays, if I hear a phone vibrating on the side, that takes me back to getting woken up by that phone call. But yeah, you obviously had some very different emotions to me. Like when I say denial, you said like relief.
Yeah, literally, it's like I never thought that, like, when you're not growing up, I'm not saying we all sit there and go, God, my mum's going to die one day. Like, but you kind of do. Like, because you're like, what? It has to happen?
Yeah.
No. Sorry, mum. I should have said dad. Sorry. Anyway. But yeah, no, I felt relief because my dad was poorly, and I still say to this day, like, I mean, I do feel traumatized watching my dad die, because it was worse than him dying. It was something I can't put into words, something I struggle to even think about now. I try not to give it any time, which is something that I need to heal on. This is why we're doing this podcast. We're not perfect. I need to do work on my grieving process. Maisie does, like, we've got to combine like almost like 500, like nearly 6 years, I guess, of grief experience here. So, and we still haven't got any answers. But no, yeah, relief, because I was just like, I'm so glad he's at peace, and I'm so glad selfishly I haven't got to see my dad like that anymore, because the last thing I wanted was that to be a memory. Like, I don't remember, I remember like what he looked like, but that's not what I think of when I think of him. So yeah, I can't say I went through shock, because obviously you experienced the biggest shock of your life, a sudden passing. Mine was more like it was coming, like my dad was in a hospice when he passed away. And yeah, I guess like I can't say I've got like any other feelings. Like obviously like relief, anger sort of came, but also not. I think like having someone die from illness, being ripped like I mean Vince was ripped away suddenly, and then I mean the illness is you're watching someone deteriorate over a long amount of time. It's like, God, how cruel can you get? Like, just leave these people alone. Like, so I guess anger, and it's really weird. I think when people say like grieving, like it's I'm really shocked at how little of it was true upset. I don't know about you. Like I'm heartbroken and I'm gutted, and I wish that like my dad was here for me to tell him things, but like very rarely have I sat there and like cried because I'm like feeling sorrow almost. It's more like I'm angry he's not here. I'm gutted that he's missing out. I'm sad that he went through that suffering, and I'm relieved that he didn't have to go through it longer. But I'm never really like bring him back. Like, would you agree? That sounds harsh as hell. But
No, I do think you're right. I think a lot of the time you're kind of, I think sometimes it's like crying over the fact it's unfair.
Yeah.
Like life's cruel.
Yeah.
I guess it's different in ways because you're at a different stage of your grief. Obviously, it was 5 years ago, so maybe you've been through those motions in some ways. I'm still very early doors, like,
God, yeah.
and I think, I don't know, we're both on such different paths. I know we kind of touched on my wedding, but I guess I've just had so much going on. Like, I got married to Harry, my husband, last month. And that was really, really confronting. It was, I mean, because I guess, obviously you're getting married next year to Jam behind the camera, shout out. But you've obviously had to deal with the fact that your dad's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Different circumstances for me because Vince was walking me down the aisle. He was there planning the wedding at the start. He paid for my dress. Like, things like that. Well, he paid for half of it. My mum had to pay for the other half because he popped his clogs before. But sorry,
it's honest.
But yeah, I think it was weird for me because we did all this planning with him, and then I think I went through a lot of the I can't believe he's not here because he was cemented in my mind to be giving me away. So it was kind of all these pictures. I remember the day I asked him to walk me down the aisle. We went out for lunch and he was all teary. So yeah, I think I've kind of had to be forced to look at the fact he's not there. It was weird, the wedding day without him. It did feel like he was there though, I think.
I felt like he was like central to everything, but like not even in like a heartbreaking way. It was so beautiful, and I'm not just saying that, but like it really was. Like, you had him on your bouquet, didn't you?
Yeah.
Had your amazing necklace. Like, he did walk you down the aisle, and I think everyone in the room felt like he was there.
Yeah. He was mentioned in like every speech as well, wasn't he? And we had like loads of photos printed off. Even the little things like in the bouquets for like me and the bridesmaids, we had thistles because he was Scottish. Like, there was so many little touches because I wanted him to feel like, everyone to feel like he was there. And, that was really nice for my mum as well because she said the same. And, he would have been the first and the last on the dance floor. And, I mean, our family's definitely carried that for him.
I think you did, like, to be fair.
Crowd surfing. But it was bittersweet, It was the most amazing day of my life. And I felt his presence very much. But I think on the honeymoon, I've been so distracted with the build-up to the wedding and everything going on, that on the honeymoon I was brought very much back down to earth. I was fine for the first few days, and then me and Harry went to Sri Lanka for our honeymoon, and then we were in Kandy, which was like a big city there, and we're walking down the street and a coffin car drove past with a coffin in, and fucking hell, the floodgates opened big time. I was literally like, honestly beside myself, literally in the street. And it was so bad that like Haz had to be like, Maze, I know you're really upset, but please stop crying. Because we had like people coming up to us, like thinking I was getting trafficked or something. And this guy, bless him, came up to us and was like, is she all right? Like, she looks like she needs help. So yeah, I think that was like the start of it for me. And then the kind of last week of the honeymoon was still amazing, but I think because of all the build up and excitement, it was the first time my mind had kind of
slowed down.
Yeah. And I had to realise that I was coming to terms with this, which is when I thought about the podcast, to be fair.
But you were triggered as well. I mean, that's something we've been talking a lot about, is triggers. I mean, like, you literally saw a coffin going down the road on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
Like, thanks.
Yeah, cheers,
Paid
guys.
actor.
Yeah.
Trying to really wobble you there. But, like, no, that's... I think... I'm not going to say you dealt with it how you needed to. I remember you texted me in Jam and you were just like, what do I do? Like, we both said, and you said to yourself, like, you just have to cry. You cannot paper over the cracks of grief. I think that's something I've learned most about this.
Yeah.
You know, there are no answers, but also you've just got to let yourself have it. Like, and when people say, be kind to yourself, like, it isn't just a passing comment. Like, and sometimes being kind to yourself isn't going, oh, I'll go out for a quick cocktail and make myself feel a bit better. It's, I'm going to lie on my own in a dark bedroom and cry and cry and cry.
Yeah.
Wake up the next day and go, okay, I'm ready now. Like,
Yeah.
and that can happen at any time. Like, you know, 5.5 years down the line, like, it still happens. I think people that are like 20 years in still triggered by things, you know, and yeah,
I think also it's hard, isn't it? Because like Jam and Harry, like, it's so hard when you're in that moment, because all you want to do when someone's going through grief and going through a really dark time, you just want to make it better, but nothing you say or do will help.
No.
Like, and it's really, really difficult, but I guess you just kind of have to let people have space. And I think one thing we wanted to do at the end of each episode of this, because there is a lot of lessons that we've found, so we wanted to do a bit of like a lesson in loss each week. And I feel like we've spoken about a lot today that we've learned.
yeah.
And I think it kind of ties into the one that you wanted to talk about. So yeah, what's your lesson in loss this week?
Do you know what? Ironically, I've actually forgotten it. But I think what I just said was a really good. Do you remember? What
I
it
remember.
was?
I remember. Yeah,
Perfect.
You've spoken about it already, but very poignant.
Yeah, the word of the year.
Yeah, literally. But you wanted to kind of talk about how people need to find their own space to grieve and how it looks different.
Oh yeah, totally. And like, yeah, that kind of leads off to what I just said. So that was really good of me to do that. If I hadn't forgot it, you would have thought I was flowing. So that was great. You know, like, I just think, like, one thing I wish someone had told me, which is, you know, kind of the opposite of what I got told, unfortunately, which was like, everyone grieves differently. There is no right or wrong way to grieve, and people will hear it all the time, you know, like, take your time, do what you need, but do people actually mean it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, whoa, I said mean so many times then, I'll try not to do it again. I mean, I am going to say I mean. Basically, that's my other favourite. Just give yourself the space to heal. No one is going to say to you, like, you know, work aren't going to miss you if you need to take half a day off and cry. I said this to you when you went back to work. I was like, Maz, just go back off work, you know. And I think the lesson in grief is be incredibly selfish. No one can tell you how to grieve. You can't tell yourself how to grieve, but you can take yourself off and do what you need to in that moment. And yeah, selfishness, it's not really a great trait to have, but grief-wise, it's probably the best one to have, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you need to do whatever feels right for you and give yourself that space. My lesson in loss this week is resilience, because that is one thing I found that I didn't. Well, I knew I was a resilient person, but loss really challenges your resilience. And if you told me that day where I'd found out from my Uncle Steve that Vince had passed, and I was saying, I can't go on, I never would have thought that I would be able to navigate. And sometimes it's shit, sometimes it's easier, but you do really learn to be resilient, and you learn that you're a lot fucking stronger than you thought you were.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, my mum, I need a whole podcast episode to talk about her, but I just can't believe how incredibly amazing and strong she's been, and how she's navigated the trickiest of situations, but with such eloquence. Is that a word?
It sounds right. It sounds right.
I just think I can't even put it into words, but she's just led with just such grace throughout everything. And she she surprises me every day with how incredibly positive her mindset is with an incredibly shit situation. So I guess my lesson is loss is that you are way more resilient than you realize. And if it feels like you can't go on in that moment, things do get easier, and they are like this, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there will be a lot of highs with the lows as well.
I think I just want to add on the resilience thing as well, to combine both of our takeaways, is like sometimes resilience is like shutting everything off, not going on your phone and just shutting yourself away and like getting a takeaway and being lazy in front of the TV for a bit. Like sometimes that is, you know, the answer to everything. And that doesn't mean you're not as strong. It doesn't mean you have to go out campaigning for grief and putting up posters in coffee shops. Like that doesn't make you stronger than someone that needs to just lie down and loaf for a bit. Like, you know, so don't compare yourself to others, guys.
Yeah.
Resilience comes in every form. Just being able to wake up each morning after something so traumatic as loss, like, that's resilient as hell. So
yeah, absolutely.
Take that away.
And there will be a few good grief posters coming to coffee shops near you soon.
I ain't putting them up. No, I'm joking. I'm strong.
But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think we should do a little teaser for our next.
Hell yeah.
We were going to do a episode because we felt like triggers needs its own episode in itself. And again, it's not going to be, as you know, with us, there will be deep topics, but we'll try and make it as light as possible. But I think it's a topic that needs covering because everyone will have different triggers and sometimes you least expect them.
Yeah.
But I hope that episode was okay.
Yeah. I really hope you guys liked that.
Yeah, like and subscribe, please. But yeah, thank you for joining us again for another episode. It helps us so much.
So much.
Yeah, it's great that you have listened again. And we'll see you next Sunday.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.